good YouTube? TB Locks here, bringing you guys another video. Yes, today I'm gonna bring you guys my top 5 cities in the US for dreadlocks. If you're interested in this video, stay tuned. Per usual, you guys, if you have not done so already, please hit that like and that subscribe button right now. If you have hit that like and subscribe button, definitely want to make sure you hit that notification bell to stay notified on all the posts the moment I post. Let's get into the video. You guys, before we get into my top 5, I want you guys to know that this is my opinion. This might be controversial to some of you guys. There are gonna be some honorable mentions that I'm gonna add to the list at the very end. This is my top 5. This list is gonna be based on things like cultural impact, popularity, who did it first, and several other things, okay? So let's dive right into it. Now, this city coming in at number 5, it's not really a city, it's more of a general area, okay? And that's probably why it's not really fair. The first area coming in at number 5 is the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, the DMV. This area is rich in culture, it's rich in the celebration of the African diaspora as well as many other cultures, you guys. You known artists like Wale come out of there with locks and popularized it for this particular area in the mainstream culture. Those of you guys who have lived in that DC, Maryland, Virginia area know that it did not start with Wale. There's been a celebration of African diasporic cultures in general for a very, very long time. You can look at the demographics of the area and see that it is very diverse. Also, when you look at this area, in DC specifically, you got a city that is renowned for its celebration of Black business and Black culture. Definitely want to give them their props for the upholding of culture just in general, but this is a place where if you do have locks and you're in that particular area, you're not going to stick out like a sore thumb. You are going to be able to integrate pretty comfortably within that culture. All right, but the first area, you guys, DMV. Now, number 2, you guys, we have Atlanta, Georgia. Those of you guys who live in Atlanta or have any family members in Atlanta, y'all know Atlanta can be hood, it can be eclectic, it can be, you know what I'm saying, artsy. And we got to see a lot of that through some of the musical artists that sort of came out. You know, artists like Outkast, Young Dro, T.I., and many others, as well as R&B acts. So we've seen a little bit of what this place has to offer in terms of talent as well. If you weren't around in like the early 2000s when the Yin Yang Twins and Lil Jon and the East Side Boys and everybody came through, like Crime Mob, locks were a thing. All my family members are from Alabama, and I remember we would drive to Atlanta for a summer just to go see how things were. When I tell you there were locks everywhere, y'all, there were locks everywhere. And mainly because Atlanta has sort of helped popularize it in the mainstream media through its musical artists. There was a point in time where when it came to locks, you weren't gonna be the only person in your school with locks if you lived in Atlanta. No way, no how. It had just become too popular in that particular area. So much, in fact, that it had permeated throughout the entire South. Atlanta is also one of the top areas for Black business. A lot of people refer to it as Black Hollywood. Places that are a little bit more inclusive to the African diaspora, you are gonna see where there's a lot more cultivation of natural hairstyles. And as a place that is a hub for Black business, you've got some amazing stylists, some amazing barbers. This is gonna be a place where you're not gonna have a problem finding any locticians. If you're thinking about cities in America, Atlanta is probably the closest thing to Wakanda. Like, it's literally, they call it Black Hollywood for a reason. I mean, Tyler Perry Studios is there. It's so much wealth, so much greatness, so much industry. It's just an amazing place to be. And if you have locks, you're not gonna be judged for looking like a thug. You're not gonna be judged negatively because they are part of the culture. Prominent corporate individuals have them. Prominent celebrities have them. So you're just gonna fit right in there. And if you are a person that's choosing somewhere to live where you want an inclusive environment, where you want the ability to have corporate entities around you, the ability to grow with a low cost of living that's gonna allow you to afford a home, Atlanta is gonna be your place to be. Atlanta absolutely is gonna be your place to be. That's why I've got it at number 4. Atlanta is an amazing city for dreadlocks, you guys. All right, but that's number 4. Number 3 on the list, and some of you guys probably think this should be number 1 on the list, but Chicago. Now, I know this one is controversial because some people believe that a lot of the reason why locks have become popular in Chicago is specifically because of the gang culture that's associated with it, with artists like Chief Keef, you know, Lil Durk, a few other ones. When it comes to Chicago, you guys, you gotta give credit where it's due. While these artists are typically associated with some of the violence in Chicago, some people believe they are major contributors to it. You also gotta understand understand that at the bottom of that, these are people that are trying to uplift their families from lower socioeconomic situations. And in the case of a lot of these artists, they have maintained the ability to do that and provide through other families as well through their efforts in philanthropy and etc. Chicago is such an impactful city when it comes to locks, you guys, for a lot of people in America, specifically people in that pop culture mainstream realm. First thing they think of when they think of locks is Chicago. People like Chief Keef. So when it comes to impact in this particular culture and being able to sort of spread the awareness and sort of help when it comes to, creating more avenues for representation of locks, Chicago absolutely belongs in that conversation, and we're gonna give them their credit on this list. In addition to their contribution to lock culture, Chicago is actually one of the most renowned historic cities in all of America, so it's got a rich history, bustling economy. It is a little bit more on the expensive side, so if you're not a person that works a corporate gig or an entrepreneur that makes, a pretty, good amount of income, it could be a little bit uncomfortable for you. You might find yourself in a neighborhood that's not the most savory, so just keep that in mind. But I gotta put it on my list at number 3 for one of the best cities for dreadlocks. Now, coming in at number 2, again, another one that's controversial because you guys probably think this one deserves to be number 1. But for me personally, it's not gonna go on number 1. But coming in number 2, you got Miami, Florida. Miami, unlike any of the other places that I've mentioned, has been able to prop up one of the most polarizing lock looks in the community, you guys, with wicks. You've seen artists come out of Southern Florida like Kodak, Spot 'em, Got 'em. I mean, I'm not really, too well versed for all the rappers out there. Y'all could leave them in the comment section if y'all know more. There's been such a rich celebration of wick culture, lock culture just in general, so you gotta put it on this list. And when it comes to the demographics of Miami, you guys, those of y'all who know, y'all know. Miami is almost like its own little separate country, y'all. Like, there are places in Miami where the first language isn't even English. You got a heavy influence of Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, Bajans, Jamaicans. I mean, it's literally like each demographic has their own little village respective of their culture. And what results is like this beautiful gumbo of like African diaspora where people are just creating their own little pockets of culture. And from that, you've seen locks and wicks emerge as some of the more prominent synonymous aspects of Southern Florida. So you gotta give them their credit, you guys. Miami truly does their own thing. If you ever met somebody from Miami, they're a little off. They can be really confident. Sometimes people will call it arrogant. They've got their own dances, their own way of thinking, their own food. Some people would call them crazy. But you gotta give them respect where it's due. Them people down there are doing their own thing and loving it. So for that reason, I am going to put Miami number 2 on my list. Now, number 1, y'all not gonna agree with me on this one, but I don't care. I gotta give this place credit where it's due. New York, New Jersey, you gotta give them their credit. You gotta put them at number 1. That area, as the birthplace of hip hop, has done more for the culture, I think, personally, than any other place in America, y'all. Just like Miami, New York has a heavy influx of Jamaican, Bajan culture, Cuban culture, Puerto Rican culture, several members of the diaspora there. But they've been doing it, y'all. They've been doing this since like early 80s, 90s, through the Harlem Renaissance, through, through the emergence of hip hop in the 90s and 80s. Like, they have been doing it. You got artists like the Fugees, artists like Busta Rhymes, who have been doing it early, way before mainstream media caught on, way before social media caught on, way before it became this mainstream movement that everyone has sort of adopted and adorned. People in New York was rocking locks before it was cool, before it was fashionable, and they was rocking them unapologetically. They was making bold statements just like they were with hip hop. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that I would live in New York because, quite frankly, it's got a lot going on right now, especially with the pandemic. It's extremely expensive. If you're a person with a family, I definitely wouldn't recommend this particular location for you. But I will say, if you're wanting to visit someplace that's got that amazing scenery, rich culture, one of the most historic cities in America, if not the most historic city. You're talking about a city that's known across the entire globe, whose impact is well known. New York City, Brooklyn, you've seen the memes. If you see the dogs in your front yard, just know I'm going hard. Bing bong. New York's presence is still felt today, but in terms of locks, I gotta give it its credit for being one of the originators of the eclectic, raw, gritty epicenters for locks and just culture in general, okay? So for that reason, I gotta put New York #1 on my list. Now, some of my honorable mentions, you guys, I gotta put Houston on this list. Those of you guys who know about Houston and Dallas, just Texas in general, y'all know those areas are also epicenters for black business as well. Houston has brought you locticians like Damian Walter, who is like a pillar in the lock community right now. Definitely gotta give it up to Houston. Also gotta give it up to the Bay Area in California. People sleep on the Bay Area as being one of those places where locks are thriving, but you got legends like Mac Dre, who helped sort of cultivate that lock community down there. Became a movement. I believe turfing, several other dance movements birthed down there as well as a result of that culture. So you definitely got to give it up to Bay Area. Lastly on this list, you guys, you got to put Hawaii. I know y'all ain't really knowing, y'all probably not really hip, but Hawaii has a heavy reggae influence. The island vibes are real out there. If you've lived there, you know it's not just blacks that are wearing locks, it's also Hawaiians, Tongans, Samoans. A lot of the other demographics that are living there sort of embrace that vibe. So you got to give them their props. That island culture is very real and it definitely permeates down there in Hawaii, okay? Those are my 3 honorable mentions. You got my top 5. Let me know what your top 5 are in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree, you disagree. Really, where it's gonna come down to is what order you place them. But I think otherwise, I got a great list, okay, y'all? So hopefully you found this video entertaining. This has been TP Locks, signing out.
TP Locks fam, what is going on? You already know it's your boy Backpack Beats. If you like the music on my homie TP's channel, definitely come over to my channel. I got more of these. I'm making beats every week. I'm also DJing every week for the No More Free Beat Show. So definitely make sure you stay tuned in. Got a lot of stuff popping. I appreciate everybody who's been coming from TP's channel as well. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate y'all for coming through, showing love. It's nothing but a community over here for real. We got the dope vibes. So definitely stay tuned to what we doing on TP's channel. Make sure you stay tuned to what I'm doing on my channel also. And it's gonna be fire, man. Dope beats, dope music, dope vibes. Appreciate y'all.